So over time, we've talked to you in lots of different ways. We told you that you are the creator of your own reality, and you said, oh, good. And then you said, never mind, I don't like the idea very much. You began going, cancel, cancel. You tried to suck your thoughts back before law of attraction got hold of them and gave you something that you did not want. We called it the science of deliberate creation, because science meaning it's always expanding, and deliberate meaning you're doing it on purpose, and creation meaning you are the creator of your own reality. But then we noticed that as you are being the science of deliberate creator, offerers of thought, you got all tense and worried about it. And then we began to call it the art of allowing, the art of you in your body here and now, allowing yourself to be a vibrational match to the vibrational version, so that you could be in the allowing mode or the receptive mode, so that you could begin to receive the thoughts that would be the beginning and then the middle and then the ending of you turning your thoughts into things, turning your thoughts into the reality that is important to you. So that's what we want to talk with you about on any subject that is important to you. We want you to realize that you cannot stand in a strong awareness of the absence of something that you want and be in the receiving mode so that you have good timing of the things that you do want. We want you to consider, how is it that thoughts do turn to things? There are no pipelines from other universes or other galaxies trucking in resources to your planet. It's your thoughts that are turning to things. It's your mind expansion that is causing your reality to expand. So we want you to leave this gathering knowing for sure that you create your own reality, that law of attraction abounds, that it is always fair, that you can tell by the way you feel what you're doing in terms of your vibrational output, that you can feel whether you've closed the gap between you where you stand in your body and all that you've created, or whether you are in the receiving mode, so that what's in this vortex, where all of the cooperative components of all of the things that you've been asking for have been gathered, where this vortex can be received by you and translated by you into the life experience, the relationships, the material objects, all of the things that you want, because life is supposed to feel good to you. And it's a really certain thing that if you have expanded, and you have, and if your vortex is full of all kinds of experiences and circumstances and relationships and material things that you desire, and it is, that you must be able to find a way through focus and awareness of your own guidance to be a consistent vibrational match to the vibrational reality that you've already created, so that you can manifest into this physical experience those things that you intended, just as you intended to do it. You see, you didn't come here to watch others create, and you didn't come here to fix things that are broken, and you didn't come here to fix a broken world because it isn't broken. You came here for the delicious experience of life showing you what you want, of you putting it into the vortex, of non-physical shoring it up, of law of attraction gathering all of the cooperative components to it, and of you using your guidance system to find yourself in alignment so that you're in the receptive mode, so that you can get into that sweet spot of creation that you came to live, where ideas are flowing to you and where impulses are coming to you. And as you follow those good feeling, flowing, sweet, aligned impulses and thoughts, then manifestations begin showing up all around you as evidence of your ability to deliberately create. There's an important thing that we want to say, and then we'll open it to you and whatever you want to talk about. Unless you are aware of the potential gap between your thoughts and the thoughts of your inner being about the same thing. Did you hear that? Your inner being is having thoughts in the moment that you're having thoughts about any subject. And the way you feel is your indication of how in harmony your thoughts are with the thoughts of your inner being. When you see someone and their positive aspects are just so apparent to you, and you are just appreciating their clarity or their cleverness or their whatever. So you are tuned in to this love frequency that is really who you are, and you are feeling such appreciation for them. There's no gap between you and your inner being. You're exactly on the same vibrational wavelength, because that's how your inner being is feeling about them. Every now and again, Esther would say to us, because she could feel that she was on a different wavelength than her inner being about some subject or some person. And she said to us, Abraham, I think you need more information about them. You couldn't possibly feel the way you seem to feel about them if you knew what I know. In fact, I think I'd like to tell you what I know, and I think you should join me, because clearly it's the separation between us that is making me feel bad. So get real and come over here and face reality with me. And we say, we don't want you to face reality. We want you to create reality. And we're not ever coming over there with you. Not ever. Get used to it. We're not ever coming over there. There's been too much evolution into the pure positive energy that we are. We're not going to join you in your pushing against. And that's such a good advantage to you, because since your inner being will never join you in your pushing against, you can always know where your inner being stands. And you always know, if you care about how you feel, how to close that gap, how to come into your power, how to come into the leverage of the energy that creates worlds, how to hook up with that energy that does create worlds, how to be the creator of your own environment, you see. So now you know everything we know. We're eager to talk with you about whatever you want to talk about. There is nothing off limits. You will notice a nice unfolding, because it's clear in your vibrational beingness who you are and what you're about and what it is you're reaching for. And so it is our promise, our absolute knowing, that you're going to get what you came for. Don't panic if we don't call on you right away or ever, because we will talk about what's on your mind. So what do you want? What now? We're going to have a really good day.
How you doing today, Abraham?
Really well.
You good? Are you perfect? So I had a couple of questions. One thing that I've been dealing with, I had a conversation with one of my coworkers, and I'm into fitness, and putting our focus on what we want to manifest in our lives. I believe if I want to get in physical wellness, I want to focus on the body that I want to motivate me to exercise. Her aspect is focusing on the body that she doesn't want. Like, she'll look at maybe more hefty people in the gym, and she says that's her driving force to make her want to exercise.
Well, you're talking about the difference between motivation and inspiration, because when you focus upon what your desire is and you line up with it, then you're called toward it. That's inspiration. But when you're aware of what you don't want and you're trying to push against it, that motivation is more about that.
I see that. I operate out of inspiration, and she looks like she's operating out of more motivation. And what I want to understand is she channeling or transmuting that negative energy of like what she doesn't want to be into making it a positive force for her to drive for something better for herself? And what are your thoughts on that?
We would say to some extent, because she's getting good results. It's a fine line, isn't it? Knowing what you don't want helps you to know what you do want, and knowing what you do want helps you to know what you don't want. And the relationship between the two is really what the focusing of energy is all about. There are a lot of people who know so much what they don't want. So there's a war against it, a war against drugs, and a war against terrorism, and a war against, and a war against, and a war against, and all of those things are getting bigger, because there is no exclusion. There's only inclusion. So you just can't get around that. But you can't really know for anyone else unless you're really up close to them and you are really aware of their moods and attitudes. You can't really know what anybody else is doing energetically. Esther remembers in the really early days of playing with us, and they had some friends that were all living in Phoenix, and Jerry and Esther said to their friends, go get lost somewhere in Phoenix and we'll come and find you. And then they would go to an intersection, and Esther was feeling impulses about what way to go. And sometimes she would say, well, it isn't that way. So they would turn that way. Well, it's really not too important whether the knowing that you don't want that is what helps you to know that you do want that. But once you've become aware of what it is you do want, you are far better off to line up with what you want and why you want it. That's the way you tap into the true powerful energy. Yeah. So what are you getting at here?
So I guess what I'm getting at is, if you know what you don't want, but you never actually put your focus on what you do want, what is that going to create?
But our question to you is that really a possible thing? Or does knowing what you don't want automatically imply what you do want? If you really know you don't want something, there is something on the other end of that. That's those rockets of desire that we were talking about that you send off. So now what you may be getting at is that, let's say that someone, your girlfriend, has sifted and sorted and launched many rockets of desire. By knowing what she doesn't want, she knows what she does want. And her inner being knows what she wants and is calling her toward it. So step 1 and step 2 are taken care of nicely. But step 3 does not work if you continue to push against what you do not want. If instead of talking about what you want and why you want it, you're talking about what you don't want and why you don't want it, then you disallow yourself from the receiving mode, and then you are relying completely upon action without the leverage of alignment for your results. Does action without the leverage of alignment bring you some results? Yes, but not the kind of results that you're capable of.
So then it would be okay to use some form of what you don't want as a means to start building that momentum, but you don't want to stay there. You want to...
Perfectly said. In fact, that's the way it always works. You can't get away from that. Contrast is always going to help you know what you want. But at some point in the process, you want to say to yourself, now I'm doing step 3. If I'm really good at it, I'm doing step 4. And occasionally, I'll step back into contrast. That's step 5. Did we mention that? Step 5 is being back in step 1 and not being mad at yourself for being back in step 1. It's accepting the value of contrast. You just don't want to be stuck there. There are a lot of people who really believe that the way to motivate anybody to anything is to just scare the fire out of them relative to everything. So they just talk about all of the dangers. Almost all sales are about that. If you don't do this, if you don't eat this, then these bad things will happen to you. This bad thing is waiting for you unless you do this thing I'm selling. It's sort of the basis of most things.